Hello everyone, welcome to today's online class. Today we are going to discuss a new chapter. A house is not a home. This chapter is from our supplementary reader moments. So let's go to the story. This story reflects the challenges of being a teenager and the problems of growing up. How does the author overcome his problems? Let's check the story. My first year of high school felt awkward. After leaving junior high at the head of my class with all the seniority the upper grade levels could afford me. It was strange starting over as a freshman. So he just changed the school as to high school. After the upper grade, he was the so that batch was the senior students. When they are going to the next school, then what happens there? They are the juniors there. The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. I felt very isolated. So the school was very big, and his friends were not there with him because they all are in different school. So it felt him isolated. That was feeling alone. Then I miss my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. So he was feeling missing the school, so he used to go to the old school. The teachers encouraged him because they know he was feeling sad about changing the school. But that was necessity. He must change because he wanted to go for higher studies. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old school. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. So they said he will start loving the new school more than or us more than his old school. That is a psychology that we know all. So first time we don't like it, but even after we start loving the place. One Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework. It was a cold and windy fall day, and we had a fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on top of all my papers, purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. So that was a Sunday afternoon. He was doing his homework, and his kitten was there, cat was there. When it was a kitten, he saved its life, and it was with him. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. We know it's an what is a cold and windy fall winter day. Suddenly, I smelled something strange, and then I noticed it smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out into the front yard. So, stoking fire means feeding and tending the fire. Here you can see stoking the fire. My mother kept stoking the fire. Stoking the fire means feeding and tending the fire. So, giving some things, keeping the food woods and make the fire grow. So they ran out of the front door. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So the house was caught a fire. He ran to call the neighbors to call the police to fire department. In that time, he saw his mother was running inside the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and, in a crazy manner, ran back into the house. I knew that she was after. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. So she took the important papers back, and after again she went back into that fired house. He knew why she was running, because his father died when he was young, and some of the pictures and some of the letters were there. She doesn't want to leave that one. They were the only things that she had to remember him. Still, I screamed at her, "Mom, no!" I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother is in there. My mother is in there." He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically, and that if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. So he know that one. If that person leave him, definitely the narrator will run into the house. "It's all right, they will get here," he said. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. So till that time, whenever he was fighting, hating, arguing with her, that all vanished in the thought which came he may lose his mother. So he went there and hugged her. You can see the picture. The fireman was holding him. This picture you can see the fire was there. The fireman trucks are there. "She's going to be okay," said the fireman. She just inhaled a little smoke, and then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. So the house was burned down. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. Our house was almost completely burned down. But then it struck me. I hadn't seen my cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Then all at once it hit me. The new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried and cried. I was suffering loss big time. The fireman wouldn't let us go back into the house that night. It was still too dangerous, dead or alive. I couldn't imagine leaving without knowing about my cat. Regardless, I had to go. We piled into the car with just the clothes on our backs and a few of the fireman's blankets and made our way to my grandparents' house to spend the night. The next day, Monday, I went to school. When the fire broke out, I was still wearing the dress I had worn to church that morning, but I had no shoes. I had kicked them off when I was doing my homework. So remember, so when he went to church, Sunday morning when he went to church, which dress he was worn, and the same dress only he was wearing next day Monday when he came to school, because he doesn't have any other dress. And one more thing, he doesn't have any shoes, because when he was doing the homework, he kicked away that shoes. They became yet another casualty of the fire that also burned. So I had to borrow some tennis shoes from my aunt. Why couldn't I just stay home from school? My mother wouldn't hear of it. but I was totally embraced by everything. So he thought not to go to school, but mother didn't allow him to stay home. So he's feeling embraced about that everything. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. I had no books or homework, and my backpack was gone. Backpack, bag, school bag. I had my life in that backpack. The more I tried to fit in, the worse it got. Was I destined to be an outcast and geek all my life? That's what it felt like. I didn't want to grow up, change, or how to handle life if it was going to be this way. I just wanted to curl up and die. So he can't understand what is going on in my life. He doesn't want to grow up. I want to face this type of life. I want to live the old life that he thinks. I walked around school like a zombie. Zombie, a dull and a pathetic person. Here, what is zombie exactly meaning, Here it means it's a dull and apathetic person, not related to that group. Everything felt surreal. Surreal means strange or bizarre. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house, and my cat had all been ripped away. So he felt insecurity there. He doesn't have any friends there really. When I walked through what used to be my house after school that day, I was shocked to see how much damage there was. Whatever had burned was destroyed by the water and chemicals they had used to put out the fire. So that evening, when he came back, he walked through that way where his house was. What happened there? What are the parts of the house which didn't destroy by the fire were destroyed by the water and chemicals? So the parts which didn't destroy by the fire almost destroyed by the water and chemicals they used to put out the fire. The only material things not destroyed were the photo albums, documents, and some other personal items that my mother had managed to heroically rescue. But my cat was gone, and my heart ached for her. There was no time to grieve. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live, and we would have to go buy some clothes for school. We had to borrow money from my grandparents because there were no credit cards, cash, or even any identification to be able to withdraw money from the bank. Everything had gone up in smoke. So they can't get money, they can't take money, they don't have that credit cards, they don't have the cash, they don't have any identification ID cards to withdraw money from the bank also. This everything burned. That week, the rubble that used to be our house was being cleared off the lot. Even though we had rented an apartment nearby, I would go over to watch them clearly away debris, hoping that my cat was somewhere to be found. So next week that all the things which was well left there all were cleared. Every day he'll go and watch it because he want to see whether his cat was there or not. She was gone. I kept thinking about her as that vulnerable little kitten. In the early morning when I would disturb her and get out of bed, she would tag along after me, climb up my robe and crawl into my pocket to fall asleep. I was missing her terribly. It always seems that bad news spreads quickly, and in my case, it was no different. Everyone in high school, including the teachers, was aware of my plight. I was embraced as if somehow I were responsible. What a way to start off at a new school. This was not the kind of attention I was looking for. So he got attention from school because everyone knew about that fire accident. The next day at school, people were acting even more strange than usual. I was getting ready for gym class at my locker. People were milling around me, asking me to hurry up. Milling around means moving in an aimless manner, move here and there, asking him to hurry up. I thought it strange, but in the light of the past few weeks, nothing would surprise me. It almost seemed that they were trying to show me into the gym. Show means push hard, pushing to the gym. Then I saw why. There was a big table set up with all kinds of stuff on it just for me. They had taken up a collection and bought me school supplies, notebooks, all kinds of different clothes, jeans, tops, sweatsuits. It was like Christmas. I was overcome by emotion. It was like Christmas. I was overcome by emotion. People who had never spoken to me before were coming up to me to introduce themselves. I got all kinds of invitations to their houses. Their genuine outpouring of concern really touched me. In that instant, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and thought for the first time that things were going to be okay. I made friends that day. A month later, I was at my house watching them rebuild it. But this time it was different. I wasn't alone. I was with two of my new friends from school. It took a fire for me to stop focusing on my feelings of insecurity and open up to all the wonderful people around me. Now I was sitting there watching my house being rebuilt when I realized my life was doing the same thing. When the house was rebuilt, he understood he's rebuilding his life also. While he sat there on the curb planning my new bedroom, I heard someone walk up to me from behind and say, "Does this belong to you?" When I turned around to see who it was, I couldn't believe my eyes. A woman was standing there holding my cat. I leapt up and grabbed her out of the woman's arms. I held her close to me and cried into that beautiful orange fur. She purred happily. My friends were hugging me, hugging the cat, and jumping around. So, look here, you can see in this picture, he got back the cat. Apparently, my cat had been so freaked by the fire that she ran over a mile away. Her collar had our phone number on it, but our phones had been destroyed and disconnected. This wonderful woman took her in and worked hard to find out whose cat it was. Somehow she knew this cat was loved and sorely missed. As I sat there with my friends and my cat curled up in my lap, all the overwhelming feelings of loss and tragedy seemed to diminish. I felt gratitude for my life, my new friends, the kindness of a stranger, and the loud purr of my beloved cat. My cat was back, and so was I. So, here are the word meanings there. Some questions are there that we can write later. So, this story, a wonderful story about the boy. A house is not a home. I hope you understood the story. If you have any doubt about the story, you can ask it in the comment box. Here we are winding up our today's class. Thank you for attending it. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.